This is the final program in a three-part series paying tribute to Alexander John McKellen, better known as Australia's favourite wartime recording star, Al Royal. In this program, we trace the final chapters of Al Royal's career, from his retirement from professional singing and his untimely death. The end of Al Royal's career in Sydney came with what seemed to be bewildering suddenness. For his huge fan club and for most of his fellow performers, Al seemed to be on top of his profession one minute, then gone the next. I asked Hal Lashwood if he was surprised when Al dropped out.
Yes, I was. I can't tell you the year, Graham. I can't tell, there were so many, but I can't tell you the year he finished with the unit. But when the war finished, the Colgate-Palmolive gradually decreased in numbers until finally, a lot of people say, oh, television killed radio live shows, including drama, variety, but before television, it was the rock and roll era. That's what hit first. And then television in 1956, 55 it started, and then that was another, you know, I was still working in radio and theatre, but I was with Macquarie and I had my own shows, the Cadbury Show, Atlantic Show, but Al had gone back to Melbourne, and there were so many, and I lost track of Al, and you know, I didn't know what happened to him, but I'll always remember him. Always. He had a special place in my heart. There was some, you know, when you're in a company of performers, you'll find some that I mean, it would be a lie to say that you loved everybody. You know, there's some that you didn't have time for, but Al, I think everybody liked Al. You know, he was just that sort of a man. He was, I didn't ever hear him say a bad word about anybody, nor did I ever hear anybody say a bad word about him. So, you know, I have very fond memories of him.
The night is to kiss you goodnight, dear, for when I do, my heart goes ooh. I'm in a make-believe world when I'm with you.
When he recorded with George Trevere, now, did that require some special coaching? Did he sing?
No, he was just a natural. Yeah.
He recorded a lot of songs in Sydney with George Trevere, and then suddenly he disappears from the scene, and now that seems to be surprising. I guess a lot of his fans, and he had a lot of fans in Sydney, were quite shocked that he suddenly left them.
Well, during the war years, there wasn't a great scope for anything like that. He did go to England later on, but he went at the wrong time of the year, because for 3 months of the year that everything folds up, and the artists usually go on the continent or somewhere like that, and he was terribly homesick, so he gave it up and came home. But had he stayed on, well, he may have done better, you know.
Did he have, do you think, the temperament to handle all that success and push himself to the limit? And
no, he wasn't a pushy person, unfortunately for him. I think in show business you've really got to be a show-off to be a success. You know, you've really got to really believe in yourself. And
didn't Al believe in himself all that much?
well, yes, he did, but he was fundamentally a shy person.
Who do you remember from the Sydney scene?
Anyone special, you mean? Oh, well, I suppose most of our friends were in the show business that Al was with. There was Al Thomas.
Good comedian.
Yes, very good. And his wife was a dancer, Ruby Lacey. She went under the name. And Al, of course, Al Thomas was Scotch, and we met his mother and father, of course. They lived at the Cross. And then there was Hal Ashwood and people that worked with Al, and then we were friendly with people, a chap called Will Andrade. He was a magician, and actually he wanted me to go on as his stooge on a and get cut in half and that sort of thing on the stage, but well, I didn't. I became pregnant, and that put an end to that.
Oh, it's not very good to get cut in half when you're pregnant.
No.
Even worse. And where did you live in Sydney?
We lived at Bellevue Hill and near Bondi Junction, up that area. And
Willie Fennell, remember him?
yes, definitely. Yes, he was a comedian at the time, and so it's quite a pleasure to see him when I do see him on TV. I often feel like getting in touch with him, actually. But no, it's just a pity that Al got famous at the wrong time. I mean, the war was the trouble, because there wasn't the recording things available that, you know, I mean, it was limited. And of course then we got homesick and went back to Melbourne.
Who got homesick, you or Al?
Well, we both did, but we wanted to buy a chicken farm, you know. We did buy a few acres at Ringwood and built a house and had a cow. And then we came up to Benalla for a holiday, and then we wanted to go dairy farming then, but and that seemed to, you know, Al's career just seemed to come to an end gradually, you know.
No use me dreaming, gotta realize, no use me scheming. Had our last goodbye, no use me beaming. Smiles that I had are gone now. No use me crying, better dry that tear. No use me sighing, people only jeer. No use me lying, all that I once had is gone. Now that we're through, life's not the same. No one to hold me. There's nothing new, no one to blame, no one to scold me. No use me leaving, where is there to go? No use me grieving, only makes a show. No use me weaving dreams that once we shared together.
There was No Use, the Glenn Marks tune with Al Royal. Well, he had the talent to be an international success, but something was missing. That vital slice of luck, the self-confidence to keep pushing, who knows? The final years in the Al Royal story right after this break. Welcome back to this tribute to Al Royal. One of the friends Al and Betty made in northeastern Victoria was another musician, Bob Anderson, who now lives in retirement in Yarrawonga. Bob remembered Al from listening to him on the radio before the war.
Well, it was actually back in 1938-39 when the P&A parades were going, and my father, well, it always used to be on a Sunday night, the P&A parade, and my father used to, he was a good organist and choir master down at Yallourn, and he used to sit there and award points for each contestant. However, it came in 1938, and there's Al Royal. He said, well, Al Royal is, I can't, got to give him all full points. And so the same thing happened in 1939. From then on, I lost trace of Al. Of course, the war came on, and I didn't know and forgotten all about him until I was transferred up from Yallourn up to Benalla, and I was introduced to Al there. As a matter of fact, in late 1958, when I resigned from the SEC, Al took over my job, and we became very, very firm friends from then on.
I asked Bob what he remembered about Al in the northeast.
He was working for A&A Jones out here at Swamp Hill.
On a property there?
On the property there. He worked for quite a few years there.
Right. And you used to see him socially now and then?
Oh, yes, he used to call. He and Betty used to often come up on a Saturday night, or we would go down to their place. And, of course, Al would get out the guitar, and Betty and he would sing duets together. Matter of fact, Betty had a beautiful, sweet little voice.
How did your name come in? I've seen you referred to as Ingram.
Yes, that was my stepfather's name, actually.
Right.
My real name was Patterson, but because I suppose it was silly, but just to stop people asking questions, I just went under the name of Ingram. But legally I had to sign the name Patterson, of course.
What did you sing under? Ingram? Betty Ingram?
Yes, yeah. Yeah.
There may be quite a lot of people in Melbourne who would still remember.
Somebody in Vanilla remembers me.
That's
I was
good.
delighted because he used to be our mayor at one stage, Ernie Strahere, and one day I was in there getting something upholstered. He was also an upholsterer and had an antique business. And we were talking about different things, and he said, I can still remember you, he said, singing at the St Kilda Town Hall. He said, my brother and I were in the Air Force, and he said, and he even told me the number. It was Dolores. And I was so delighted that I think I had a fan because I was basked in Al's limelight, you know, and so I was really delighted about that. And because when I sang at the St Kilda Town Hall, they used to have about 2,000 people there. They had an old time and a modern band, and I sang with both. And the Yanks used to get down there and they'd play Golden Wedding, and they wouldn't dance, they'd just stand around the band, you know, because they really loved that type of music. But it was a lovely hall, and Freeman's dances were very popular. But I loved it, and it kept me happy, and Al was happy, and and then when we came up here, well, people knew that we sang together. We sang at various functions, and
He was so well liked throughout the Benalla district. He did so many things gratis. That was they would ask him, would he play for here or sing there, and he would always do it. Never knocked anyone back.
Do you think?
The shades of night are falling, it's twilight time. Out of the mist your voice is calling, it's twilight time. When purple-colored curtains mark the end of day, I hear you, my dear, at twilight time. Deepening shadows gather splendor as day is done. Fingers of night will soon surrender the setting sun. I count the moments, darling, till you're here with me, together at last at twilight time. Here in the afterglow of day, we keep our rendezvous beneath the blue. Here in the sweet and same old way, I fall in love again as I did then. Deep in the dark your kiss will thrill me like days of old, lighting the spark of love that fills me with dreams untold. Each day I pray for evening just to be with you, together at last at twilight time. The glow of day, we keep our rendezvous beneath the blue. Here, in the sweet and same old way, I fall in love again as I did then. Deep in the dark your kiss will thrill me like days of old, lighting the spark of love that fills me with dreams untold. Each day I pray for evening just to be with you, together at last at twilight time.
And then, suddenly, he was gone. A heart attack in 1972 at the age of 57.
I was relieving up at Corryong, and where Al, the chap who was in charge of the transport workshops in the SEC, rang me up to tell me that Al had passed on, which was a terrific shock to me. I made a remark to the newsagent that morning in Corryong about Al going and everything else, and the next thing I had a reporter from the Sun on my back, and he wrote up a beautiful report in the Sun heading Al Bing has passed on.
Al Royal is dead. Mums and dads will remember him as Australia's Bing Crosby. His name won't ring a bell with today's teenagers, but in the 30s and 40s he captured the same fanatical support as that of any modern pop star. He died on Tuesday of a heart attack at his home in Cook Street, Benalla. Aged 57, he left a widow and 2 sons. The funeral will be held tomorrow. Al sang on radio for several years and appeared on television soon after its introduction. Not many people outside his family knew his real name, Alex McCallan. Singers and musicians yesterday paid tribute to one of the country's greatest singers. Frank Byrne, writing in the Melbourne Sun.
And was he sick very long before he died?
Well, he was told to give up cigarettes. And no, when he died, he had been going down, you know, I could see that he was getting thinner and more stooped. And my son noticed this too. But he died very suddenly, 10 minutes. He had a heart attack, and that was that. Fortunately, I was with him at the time. So I always felt I was there when I was needed most, you know. And
where's he buried?
He's buried in Benalla. His name's on his tombstone, both names. And yes, I feel if Al could have, if it had been after the war, he would have had a better chance, you know. It's a shame, but it's the way it goes.
Up and down my spine, Aladdin's lamp is mine. The dream I dreamed was not denied me. Just one look and then I knew that all I longed for long ago was you.
This has been a tribute to the late Alexander John McKellen, better known as Al Royal. Born in Yarraville in 1915, died in northeastern Victoria in 1972. Our thanks to his widow, Betty McKellen, in Benalla, to Bernice Lynch in Sydney, Dennis Farrington in Melbourne, and Bob Anderson from Yarrawonga. The contribution of the late Hal Lashwood to the program is also gratefully acknowledged. Recordings from the Al Royal collection in the National Film and Sound Archive in Canberra, readings from Mark Raymond and Sarah Patterson, script and narration Graham Jones, technical production Michael Walsh in the studios of 3NE.